your YouTube up so then I can see the comments as well and people are writing in.
So it says setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. Done. Redirecting. So I don't know if it started already. It says one person's watching.
Your YouTube up so then I can see the comments as well and people are writing in. I think it's live now.
So it says setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. Done. Redirecting.
Yeah, we're live right now.
So I don't know if it started already. Hello, everybody. Crypto Hawk here. One person's watching. We're trying this out.
As well, and people are writing in. Might need to mute that. Yeah, it's live now.
So it says setting up your meeting. I can see comments.
Yeah, we're live right now.
So I don't know if it started already. Hello, everybody. Crypto Hawk here. One person's watching. We're trying this out.
As well, and people are writing in. Might need to mute that. Yeah, it's live now.
So it says setting up your meeting. I can see comments.
So I'll just delete those tabs so there's no background noise.
I don't know what happened, but it kept just replaying and replaying. So I don't know if I'm live anymore or I disconnected it, but it just kept recirculating the same conversation. So
Yeah, so part of that, you're still live right now, is that
okay.
you and I chatting right now is the live stream. So
Okay.
you don't need to have your YouTube open. You can still
Okay.
have the YouTube open, just have it muted so it's not giving background noise. We're live right now, though, I believe. So
Okay.
yeah, we can start.
Now, a lot of times I get these questions, Crypto Hulk, Caleb Brown, what cryptos do they have, this and that. What I want to do now is open up to maybe for about 5 minutes for some open general questions because I get all these questions and I'm just like, why don't you just watch the show tonight at 5 and you can ask all those questions? And because it's like I don't know a lot of the answers. Like I'm not a broker, I'm a researcher and I make videos for people. And I wanted to have you on the show to go over some basic questions that people have and to explain what's the benefit of a Caleb and Brown, like rather than having Coinbase or some other exchange or your own keys, why would somebody have Caleb and Brown in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll do my best to answer all the questions that come through the chat. Firstly, before jumping into that, I'll just introduce myself. So I'm Jim. I'm the head of partnerships here at Calma Brown. I'd like to think a lot of people on this call already know who I am because I've been in the comments quite a lot. But yeah, I work here at CMB and work quite closely with Crypto Hulk. So in terms of what we do here at CMB and why you'd probably come and use our service more than any other platform or exchange is that we offer a white glove personalized brokerage service. So it's very different to how most people on this chat have interacted with exchanges in the past, where it's a purely transactional relationship. If you ever have any questions or you want to speak to someone about your portfolio, there's no one there to speak to. If you have a support question, you got to raise a support ticket. Sometimes it takes over 30 days for them to get back to you, right? So we are the complete opposite. We're a people first business. And what I mean by that is every single person that signs up with us, they get their own dedicated broker. And that broker is there to help you with whatever part of the crypto journey you're in. So if you're someone that's new to the space and you really need to get your hand held and understand what is this space, how do I invest, what are the key narratives and things that help an asset go up, our brokers can help clue you up and educate you in that space. But we also help with a lot of the expert traders that have been in the crypto space for a long time as well, right? So the main benefit is that you get your own broker who you can essentially call or organize a time to chat to when you wish about your own specific portfolio and where we're at in the market. The other benefit as well is that, we leverage a cold storage custody solution. So if you're not comfortable using your own hardware wallet, or you don't want to hold 100% of your assets on it, you can work with us and you can store some of your crypto in an institutional grade cold storage solution as well. So there's a whole range of different benefits that we provide for clients. But yeah, the best way I like to explain it is a crypto exchange is like a regular bank account. With Calvin Brown, it's like your own private banking solution. It's a very different service altogether, but that's probably the key difference, I would say.
Now, let me go through some of these questions here because I've never done a show. I've done one show with another person. So this is my second time actually doing this. And what I'm going to just do is scroll through these questions and then we'll
Perfect.
kind of let it go from there. Okay, let me ask you a question. I have a question. Why is it
Mhm.
that, okay, how often does Caleb and Brown throttle or like slow down or put the brakes on people when they want to buy and sell?
There's probably almost no scenario in which we would stop people from buying and selling when they wish. As a business, especially in high demand, we're always available for our clients. And that comes back to the personalized service, right? You have access to your own broker's email, you have their phone number. I know that you yourself, Crypto Health, when you're ready to do a trade, you can just email your broker and they'll execute the trade on your behalf. Conversely, if you want to get the trade done yourself straight away, we have a portal that you can use to execute the trade straight away, right? So we never really stop or delay anyone from executing a trade. It's totally up to them and when they wish to get in.
Because I'm not going to mention the name of an exchange. Now, if somebody does in the top chat, that's up to them. But I've heard of different exchanges where they'll just shut stuff down and say, oh, there's just too much social media stuff going on. We're not going to let you trade. We're going to give you a cooling off period of like 24 hours before we let you trade. Does that happen on Caleb and Brown?
No, no, not at all. I mean, as a business, we KYC our clients when they sign up. So we know everything about them. We know that they're not, well, not everything about them, obviously, but we know that they're not money mules or they're not laundering money through us. Obviously, we have to do those checks as a business to ensure that we're operating legally. But in terms of if you're already a verified client, we'll never stop or delay you from either entering or exiting the market as well, right? That's something that we're seeing as a bit of a worrying trend when people want to exit out of their position and then withdraw it to their bank account, they start to receive all these limits on their withdrawals. So we'll never do that for clients. That's part of our service offering is that you can enter and exit the market at the quickest time whenever you wish.
Because that's what I've heard. There's like these exchanges, and let's say there's this crypto that you want to get. So you go to try to buy it real quick because you know it's going to go up, and they shut it down, be like, no, no, no. There's been way too much social media on Facebook. So we're going to give you like an 8 hour break where nobody's allowed to buy and sell either this crypto or maybe any crypto. That's what happens when you go to some of these exchanges. Some of these people think they want to save money, and it's actually going to cost you money because now you, or let's say you want to sell out. Let's say there's some really bad news and you want to sell out on the crypto. But if you belong to a certain exchange or a bunch of different exchanges, they will literally shut down all trading and you're stuck. And I know that Caleb Brown, you have different kinds. How many, I don't know if you're allowed to tell us, how many different liquidity pools or let's say sources do you have to buy from or sell to?
Yeah, I can't give an exact number. It's above five though. So, there's a whole range of different OTC desks, decentralized exchanges, liquidity pools that we use to get the best rates possible for our clients. So in that example, if one of those liquidity providers goes under or they don't have enough assets to facilitate enough trades, that's when you start to see limits getting put in place. But the benefit of us not being a market maker is that we don't have a single point of liquidity. We use a whole range of different avenues. So there's no single point of failure. So in those times of high demand, especially like we're probably going to see in the next 6 months, we've never had issues in terms of facilitating those trades for our clients. And that's part of our liquidity provisions that we offer for our client base.
So let me ask a question. Let's say something happens in the crypto world. something massive, and you're on a big box exchange, somebody decides to be on one of those bigger name exchanges, do they market themselves? Like, do they have as many different variety of liquidity providers as you?
So I can't speak for every exchange, but most exchanges are market makers. And what that means is they source their own liquidity. So they have their own liquidity pools internally, which is beneficial, I'm sure, for them for a range of reasons. But what it means is if there is a specific asset that they don't have enough liquidity for, it's not like they go and then can source it from other avenues, or if they can, it takes them a lot longer because it's not part of their business operations on a day-to-day basis, right? So that's where you find scenarios where things are either they slow down the ability for clients to purchase these assets, or what they'll do is they'll charge significant spreads on it because it's harder for them to acquire it. And so what that means is the price that you purchase it for and the price they sell it for you at is a wide range. So that's where you can start to not get the best price possible because you're going through a market maker. So that's where we operate quite differently, and where liquidity can be really important in times of high demand like we're currently seeing.
So something big happens in crypto. I'm on one of those bigger exchanges. They're their own market maker, meaning they supply their own crypto to themselves. All of a sudden, maybe something really awesome happens, and everybody wants to buy this certain crypto because it's going up. It goes from 5 cents, 50 cents, a dollar, and you're like, oh, damn, I got to get on this real quick. Then all of a sudden, 10 million people get on the exchange and it jams it all up, and then they can't buy stuff. Has that ever happened on Caleb and Brown?
No, we've never really had issues with that, and that's because of the way that our operations team has matured over the years. We've been doing this since 2016, right? So we've been through many bull cycles, and so we know as a business when the periods of high demand are incoming. But we also just have safeguards in place and so many different liquidity providers that ultimately, regardless of how much demand is out there, we can always facilitate those trades for clients. So look, we've never really had any issues, especially in periods where everyone's trying to get in at once. And we know for certain assets, right, that there's a lot more demand at certain times for others, right? So XRP, when it went on its massive run last year, we had a lot of clients that wanted to buy in. We had quite a few that wanted to sell as well, and all of them were able to do so at the best rate possible.
Yeah, because I won't mention the name of the exchange, but it's just like every time something really, really good happens, this exchange shuts down. Or if something really, really bad happens and you want to sell and get out quick, they shut down. And it's just like, damn, every single time. And for me, that's like, because maybe somebody wants to join a particular exchange because they don't necessarily have a member fee or whatever it might be, or I don't know what, but they all charge something. But it's like when you miss out on an opportunity, if you have a crypto, it's 5 cents and it goes to $5, you just missed out because you could have bought it at 5 cents, but your exchange shut down, and that can cost you millions if you look at it like that. I mean, it all depends on how you look at it. Do you want to pay a little bit now and then $10 million later? I mean, that's just how I look at it. If you miss an opportunity, that's why I like Caleb Brown, because you're telling me they've got you have different liquidity providers or different sources, whereas this one exchange might be themselves. They're the only ones that have it, and they shut down all the time. And calling you guys up is pretty easy, at least for everybody I've talked to. If you got money loaded in your account and you want to call your broker up, say, hey, how do you think I should spend this? Try doing that on, I won't mention the name of the exchanges. There's nobody to get a hold of.
Yeah, yeah. And that's part of the service we provide is it's top tier customer support and a personalized service. So it's not even just being able to speak to your broker whenever you like, but your broker actually builds a relationship with you. So they know who you are, what you're interested in. They actually can help provide guidance as well. So if they're seeing something interesting that's happening with a specific asset that you're invested in, a lot of the time our brokers will reach out to clients when something major is about to happen with one of our assets. So at least they're educated about what's going on in the space. The other big thing as well is I saw some people in the comments talk about, the fee structure. So our fee is a transparent flat fee of 3.5%. And that's the only fee that we charge, which is just on a buy, sell, and swap. Now, that does sound a bit pricey, but when you factor in how other platforms charge their clients, and it's usually a small transaction fee, so definitely it usually is smaller than 3.5%. But then where they make all their money usually is on the hidden costs. So things like, as I mentioned before, on spread, on slippage of deals. They'll even charge you potentially Forex transaction fees, also withdrawal fees as well. So we don't charge any of that. We just charge on the execution of the trade. And usually it is quite competitive, if not better, when you actually factor in all those hidden costs and additional costs as well. So I'm not saying that in every trade we're going to be the best place to go to. I'm certainly not saying that. But what I am saying is just make sure that you're aware of the hidden costs that you may be getting charged on other platforms. But with us, you'll know what your fee is. It'll be as clear as day, and there'll be no other costs associated with it. So it gives our clients peace of mind. They know how much they're getting charged for, and they know that when it comes time to withdraw, they're not going to have any limits on their withdrawal, and they're not going to have any fees on that as well.
Okay, we got some questions where people donated some money, so I've got to go to these people here. Stephen Morris says, I placed my crypto on Caleb and Brown. Does that automatically put it in Fireblocks?
Yeah, correct. So every client that holds assets with us, that's stored through our Fireblocks cold storage solution. So every client that holds assets with us, your assets are stored in cold storage, separately vaulted away. They're not commingled, and we hold all of our clients' assets one for one. So, in the unfortunate scenario, if every single client tomorrow, Calvin Brown, every 41,000 of you decided to withdraw your assets, we'd be able to facilitate that because they're literally just sitting there. We're not on trading them. They just sit in cold storage until you decide to or instruct us to do something with them.
Okay, so that to me is very important. So I go to Caleb Brown, I buy crypto, they hold it separate. They're not staking it, they're not loaning it, they're not doing fractional
No,
lending and all that. Your
no,
crypto is locked up in Fireblocks, correct? And it's sitting right
correct.
there.
Yeah,
Other exchanges, not all, but I'm just saying there are certain exchanges that the reason why you can't withdraw your stuff is because they've already lent it to somebody else or whatever. Caleb Brown keeps it all safe with Fireblocks, with like 2,000 banks and financial institutions use Fireblocks. That's who they're linked up with. So it's not like a regular bank. A regular bank, you give them $1 and they loan out 90 cents or something, right? Other exchanges, they'll do that, not Caleb and Brown. So it's sitting right there. No one's touching it. Let me go to the next question.
yeah. While you're looking for that question, I'll just add on to that as well, just for people who are listening in the chat right now. We actually use our own liquidity to get the trades done. So let's just say in this example, Crypto Hulk holds XRP and Bitcoin with us. And then Crypto Hulk decides, you know what, I want to sell out of that XRP and I want to sell out to US dollars. Instead of us moving Hulk's XRP from his wallet to one of our liquidity providers and getting the trade done, we'll actually just use our own capital. So Caleb Brown has a set amount of millions of dollars worth of capital that we'll use on our end. So we'll actually just do the trade on XRP through our liquidity, and then we'll balance it up on the back end. But what that essentially means is that Hulk's assets in that scenario are never exposed to any counterparty risk or any other risk because we are literally facilitating the trade through our own liquidity, and then we'll make sure everything balances on the back end for us. But what that means is, as I've mentioned, everything's held one for one. So your assets just sitting cold storage and they never get moved from there.
I like that. Woo Beta, somebody by the name of Woo Beta, what allows you to operate as a crypto brokerage when you don't have regulations in place yet?
Oh, no, so we do have regulations. Obviously, those regulations are changing, but there's licensing rules within the states specifically that obviously differs state by state. Some states require licenses, others don't. But our head of compliance team is working quite closely with the regulators of each state. We have licenses in most, in others we're in the process of getting them. Again, those requirements have continued to change under this new administration. As a brokerage model in terms of how our brokers can provide guidance, they're able to provide commentary and as I mentioned, guidance for clients, but what they can't do is provide financial advice, which is maybe what you're referring to. So in that sense, you're correct. The business, especially both in Australia and the US, there aren't laws and regulations yet around financial products and where digital assets fall into that. So unfortunately, at this stage, our brokers are never on a call and saying that clients should buy or sell a specific asset. We can certainly provide them with as much education around their decision as possible. But you're exactly right in the sense that they can't provide financial advice, at least not at this stage, right? We're hopeful that will change and laws will come in place in the future. And in that case, our brokers will do all the necessary requirements to ensure they can provide that guidance. But in terms of right now, in terms of how we operate as a business, we are licensed, but in terms of providing financial advice, we don't do that at this stage.
We have a question, a paid question from Crypto Cowboy. He says, General Hulk, taxes. Do we get a form from Caleb and Brown on what we owe, or how would that work?
Yeah, so I mean, we provide all the transaction data and summaries that then you can leverage to do your tax returns. Unfortunately, we aren't an accountancy, so we can't actually provide advice in terms of how much tax you'd be owed. And as a business, right, we have clients all around the world. So the tax jurisdictions are completely different in Australia compared to, say, the US, right? So in that instance, what I would suggest is to still speak to an accountant about your tax scenario. But certainly in terms of any data, any transactions you do with Caleb Brown, there's a section within your portal where you can download all the reports that you can then ultimately send to an accountant who can then facilitate, your tax return with that data. But that's the only role that we can play, is actually just providing the data for you.
So I have a question. So right now, and let's say starting from right now and in the past, if you live in the United States, does Caleb Brown send all this information to the IRS?
No, we don't. So we don't send any information to the IRS. It's completely up to the clients. It's their individual tax dealings. So it's their responsibility to send that information to the IRS. Yeah.
So are there crypto exchanges that and don't mention them, but are there crypto exchanges that just automatically send stuff to the IRS?
I wouldn't know in that scenario whether they do or not. I think if they're predominantly a US based exchange, they may potentially have requirements to do so. Again, I'm not 100% across that. So yeah, I can confidently answer that, unfortunately.
All right. So I will just say, from what I believe, American exchanges are kind of told by the IRS to send the information, and a lot of the exchanges will just automatically go ahead and do it without you asking or whatever. So this brokerage is in Australia, headquartered, so it's not the United States. So it's just done differently. Maybe some countries, are more active with that, but in the United States, they kind of have told, the IRS has kind of told the exchanges, we want to know this information. I don't know if they've mandated it, but a lot of the exchanges just give it anyway because they, let's say, don't want to get in trouble. And again, Caleb Brown's not in the United States, so they're not your accountant. So they don't start telling everybody your business. That's up to you. If you want to find an accountant to do all that stuff with tax, they're here to buy and sell your crypto and to keep it in cold storage, and that's pretty much their job. So let me look at some questions here. Thanks, General. Crypto Cowboy said, thanks, General. That was awesome. So I'm looking at more questions here. What amount of crypto does one need to become an accredited investor?
So with us, you don't need to be an accredited investor. I think the amount is maybe 200K, 250K, just generally. But in terms of working with us and getting your own broker, there's no requirement for you to have any crypto really. And we have a lot of people that will sign up, they'll speak to their broker, and then they'll decide whether to purchase crypto through us or they'll decide to transfer their assets over to CMB. So with us as a client, we do have a minimum trade size of 500 USD. So say you want to buy crypto or you want to swap between two cryptos, you will have that limitation on 500 USD. But in terms of signing up and creating an account, it's completely free. So if you're someone on this call today that wants to just try out the service, speak to a broker, you're not quite sure if it's right for you, you can do that without having to upfront any capital at all, right? Or if you're someone that's got an account, but you're holding crypto on another exchange, there's no minimum, there's no maximum for you to move those assets over to CMB, right? Whether that's someone that has $400 of crypto or someone that has $400,000 of crypto, there's no limitations on you moving those assets to Caleb Brown and using our cold storage solution if you'd like. And that's something that your broker, once you sign up, can assist you in doing as well.
So let me get this right. Let's say I have somebody on Crypto Hulk and they got 50 or 50,000 VeChain or something, and they want to send it to Caleb and Brown. Is it going to cost them any money for you guys to protect their crypto?
No cost, no cost to the client. Obviously, there's a cost for us internally in terms of storing their assets in cold storage, right? That's a cost that we incur as a business that isn't passed on to clients. But in that scenario, that person would just move their VeChain over. There'd be no cost for them to move that over. And then it would sit in cold storage with us.
Wow, okay. So let's say, okay, we got somebody who has um, $10,000 worth of crypto on some exchange. They could, let's say they don't want to spend money like 100, 200, 300 bucks for a hardware wallet. They want to move it. And as long as you can take some cryptos, I guess you guys can't hold. But they send their crypto to you guys, you protect it with Fireblocks, and it really costs the customer nothing at all. And they have institutional protection for free, basically. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly right. As you mentioned, as long as we list the asset and hold it. So we
Yeah.
list and promote over probably 350 assets right now. Probably most of the ones that people on this chat are holding, we probably list it. Again, if we don't, that's always something that you can reach out to your broker about and we can see whether we can list it. But yeah, certainly people use us for our cold storage solution and that's free of charge. What I would say though is that, and I saw a comment about people using our cold storage, then withdrawing to do the trade on an exchange and then bringing it back to CMB. What we usually tend to say in that scenario is that we probably aren't huge fans of that, right? If you're going to use our service, we kind of hope that you would stick around for the long run and trade with us as opposed to an exchange. Obviously, we're not going to stop you from doing that, but certainly I think if your broker finds out about that, that may be a conversation they'll have with you. But yeah, in that scenario, absolutely, you can move your assets over and that's fine. Yeah, I saw a comment on that, so I thought I'd just make a note about that.
I think that's totally awesome because somebody might be on an exchange where they shut it down, and we don't mention names. I'm not going to do that now because this is a professional call. Now, when I'm on my own show, it's my own show, and this is different. So I'm dealing with somebody who's you know a broker and stuff. So my show's a little bit different today, but I'm impressed because somebody who might not know how to use a hardware wallet, some of that stuff's complicated, and if they mess up one tiny bit, they lose
Yeah,
all the crypto, and it's like, oh my God. And to know that they could call up a Caleb and Brown to talk to the broker, transfer all their crypto to Caleb and Brown. It'll be protected by Fireblocks, which all these banks, 2,000 banks and FIs are using, and it's free. I'm like, wow, that's a pretty good deal. So I'm gonna go on to the
100%.
next.
And like, yeah,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I'll just add into that while you go to the next question. We always encourage our clients to use their own hardware wallets and cold wallets. So people on this call that may already have one, that's fine. And if you're confident and comfortable to continue using your own cold storage, that works great. I have my own hardware wallet as well, but I don't hold 100% of my assets on it, right? Because as Hulk mentioned, if you make one mistake or if something happens to your home or wherever you're storing your wallet, you could potentially lose all of those assets. You essentially become your own bank. So it's really valuable to have just options when it comes to your custody. And that's where I hold a percentage of my assets with CMB as well, right? So I have the peace of mind knowing I don't need to stress with CMB. And then I have my own hardware wallet that I store my own crypto in as well. So we're just here to provide you with that option. Again, we're not saying you need to move over 100% of your assets with us, although a lot of clients like to do that for peace of mind. But it's good to have diversity in your custody solutions because you never want to have all your eggs in one basket, whether that's, on your own hardware wallet, sitting on an exchange, because there are genuine risks and it's not a 0% chance that you could lose those assets, right? So just important to keep that in mind.
I've never really understood keeping crypto on an exchange. Because isn't it like not your property if something happens?
Pretty much. I mean, back in the day, I had some assets on FTX, and that obviously that turned out that they were just. I had Bitcoin on there, and it just turned out they were just trading on my Bitcoin and using it for leverage bets and things like that, right? So, in some respects, exchanges aren't meant to be using your assets. Not like they're not a bank, right? They're not allowed to actually use your assets to generate loans and stuff elsewhere. But because this is crypto and it's the Wild West, a lot of them end up doing that. So I certainly would never suggest holding it just straight on an exchange because there's too much risk in that. You'd much rather just send it to your own wallet.
I have a question, a personal question. Some people say, well, Crypto Hulk, I got my money on exchange and they're just as safe as like Fireblocks and stuff if they're hacked. So why would I ever want to use a Caleb Brown for an exchange? I could just keep it on Coinbase or something.
Yeah, so I mean, we've just seen it time and time again with Celsius, with FTX, as I mentioned, BlockFi, these exchanges, especially that help you earn a yield or promote a yield. If they're providing you with a yield, especially on assets that aren't proof of stake like XRP, it probably means they're loaning out your assets to earn that yield back, right? And again, I'm not talking about any specific exchange. I'm just speaking about, in previous cycles, we've seen this happen time and time again with exchanges, and it will probably happen again. Not to talk ill will about Bybit, for example, because I thought they handled the hack really well. But again, that's just another example of these exchanges are constantly exposed to counterparty risk, bad actors on their platforms. So ultimately, if you want to hold it on exchange because that's what you feel most comfortable doing, that's totally up to you. But we've seen too many examples over the last 5 years where that continues to put clients' assets at risk. So ultimately, you want to use a service like ours where we don't just hold it on a hot wallet on an exchange. We actually use a cold storage solution through what is probably the preeminent custody provider, Fireblocks, in this space, right? Or you should use your own hardware wallet. They're probably the two main recommendations I'd give.
Next question. Digital Gold Digger says, I'm a U.S. citizen. If I were to die unexpectedly, would my wife or United States beneficiary be able to inherit my Caleb and Brown finances? If so, what do I do?
100%. That's a great question. Estate plan is something that I would say our brokers are incredibly good at facilitating. So what I would say to that individual is firstly, make sure that any of your crypto assets are included within your will. That's really important because it makes our lives easier in terms of being able to allocate those crypto funds out. We even suggest to clients to go as specific as saying my crypto assets that are held with Caleb and Brown. So if something was to happen to you, your beneficiaries in your will, we would know immediately where those assets are meant to be allocated. But our legal team would work really closely with the relevant authorities to ensure that process is as seamless as possible. In a time where your family is really grieving, we've had a lot of scenarios where we will facilitate that and do all of that for the client and ensure that whoever is owed that money, whether it's your family, whether it's your brother or a friend, whoever is in your will, will be able to transfer those assets to the rightful party. So estate planning, again, it gets back to the personalized service, right? Your broker will know who you are. A lot of the time, our clients will send through their wills just in case anyway. So we have all that documentation on our end. So when the authorities call us or we find out, we'll go through the estate planning process to ensure everything is done correctly.
Okay. Next question. XRP Flip Flop says, I plan to buy more crypto through Caleb and Brown, but is it okay to transfer crypto I already own, even though I didn't buy it through you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's quite easy to do as well. There'll be a section within your portal that'll allow you to transfer your assets over. So say you hold XRP on an exchange, you'll have an XRP wallet with us and you'll just seamlessly be able to move that over. Again, if you have any issues with that, that's where you can call your broker. That's where they can assist you in helping you transfer those assets over as well. So yes, you can just purchase crypto through us, but you can also move your assets over as well.
Lee Hughes has a question. He says, will Caleb Brown ever offer staking or automated market makers?
Yeah, so I mean, staking is a question that always comes up for us. With us, it's really about a trade-off in terms of the safety element and the commercial, yield benefit for our clients as well. A lot of the time, it's a bit of a catch-22 where if we do start to offer staking, it could come at the detriment of our cold storage solution, right? And we're always, as a business, going to prioritize safety of assets and safety of custody. So we are always exploring it as a business. And I'm certainly not going to rule it out. But if we were to offer that solution, it would be as safe as possible for our clients. So that if they're earning a yield on their assets they hold with us, that we're offering in a way that gives them no risk or exposure to potentially losing those assets, right? So we're always going to be more risk off than risk on. And we find that most clients, you're already investing in a really risky asset already, right? So to continue, earning or being exposed to more volatility in that process is already risky in itself. But it's certainly something that we're looking at for the future.
I think this is, as crypto matures, as we get more laws and regulations, as banks come in and all the, I think in the future it's very likely that a lot of companies, maybe your bank is probably going to start doing staking. Everything, I mean, we're so early now. We're so early. I'd say, 3, 5 years, 10 years from now, we look at crypto and it's like, it'll be worked into society, right? So right now it's just too early. You're really risking yourself staking when there's insurance, when there's audits done by Deloitte or whoever every week, every day. Deloitte goes through, checks everything. I mean, you don't know, like at FTX, they could steal the money and nobody knows for like a year later. It's all gone. So right now it's a little, I think it's too early for that, but I don't know. I think in the future, everybody will have staking, or most financial institutions will have it, But next question. Wuda Beta says, advantage signing up now with Caleb Brown before crypto is mainstream. Why does anybody want to sign up now? Why, or should they sign up later after crypto takes off or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, well, so one of the first things I would say in relation to that is sign up flows with us. We have a compliance team that authorizes and verifies every person that signs up, right? As a business, we need to double check who signs up to ensure that we're not, laundering money when we shouldn't be. Like if it's a bad actor, our compliance team will ensure that person can't be a client, right? So in periods of really high demand where everyone's trying to get into the crypto space, that sign up process can take a little longer than we'd like. So it's really important, if you've got time to sign up and you want to use our service and get into crypto now, very beneficial to do it now as opposed to when there's periods of high demand, because it might just take you longer for your account to get verified, right? Our team's usually pretty quick at that. Yeah, do you want to add into that, Hope?
I think that's a good point. Let's say this. Why sign up with Caleb Brown now? Let's say the United States in the middle of the night passes crypto laws. You are going to have literally 3 gazillion people calling up Caleb Brown. It might take you 3 to 4 weeks to get set up. And guess what? You just missed it, right? Let's say XRP goes $2, $3, $4, $5, $6. You're like, oh, damn, you called Caleb Brown, but guess what? You're on the list and there's 300 people before you. And Caleb Brown's like, yeah, we'll get back to you in about 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks goes by, XRP's at $1,000. You're like, forget it now. See?
Yeah, I think definitely in periods of high demand, we have a lot of new people signing up, and that can lead to bottlenecks at times. Again, we try and be as efficient as possible, but as Hulk mentioned, when there's something that is huge for the industry, we usually find that sign-up flows get to quite a high amount that can be hard for us to process quickly. And obviously, if you're trying to get in urgently and you're waiting for your account to get verified, that can be quite a stressful experience, right? So while we're in a period right now of consolidation, the markets are quite sideways. People are questioning where it's going to go for the rest of this year. It is a really good time to get set up. This is the perfect time to get involved and invested, because if things do start to skyrocket, which we're pretty optimistic that we'll probably see some sort of appreciation again later on this year, you want to be prepared. You want to be ready to go. And the other beneficial thing is you want to actually know the service. You want to have spoken to a broker. You want to try the portal. A lot of the time we recommend for our clients to do a few test transactions, really just to get to understand how everything works. Because when the market does start to move, you want to be able to deploy capital as quickly as possible. So we have a lot of people that have signed up recently that have moved over US dollars, but right now they're just sitting on the sidelines. They're not sure what they're going to invest in yet, but they're ready to go. They could email their broker in 2 minutes and they'll be entering into the market, right? So there is a benefit in getting signed up sooner rather than later.
What I recommend for Crypto Hulk fans is get your account set up now while they don't have 3 million people calling them. Because when this crypto goes, it's going to take off so fast. That's one. So sign up right now. Number two, put money in your account. Let's say you don't buy nothing, right? Just have it there. Because when 3 gazillion people, we already know right now, the banks take forever sometimes to send your account to your money to Caleb Brown. For me, it took, I think, 7 days. And I had to go into the bank and they said, we had a problem. I keep checking my account and then money never goes in. They said, here's what a certain bank told me. Well, we sent it to Caleb Brown, but their account wasn't set up or they had problems on their end. This bank lied to me like 2 times, and then I finally stood there and said, send the money. I'm standing right here, okay? Oh, look, it went through. Look, when this crypto goes crazy, you're not going to be able to send money. I'm just telling you, when you got 10,000 people at the bank doing the same thing as you, so I'm going to tell Crypto Hulk fans, don't be stupid. Get your account set up. Get the note, buy a couple, whatever, buy 1 trade or something like that. But more importantly, get that account with a minimum of $500 sitting in there. Because when this thing goes, I might come out with a news flash and say, hey, this crypto here, it just went up 300% today. And it's a good use case crypto. You need to get it based on that. You got Wells Fargo hooked up or JP Morgan. This crypto is amazing. Look at what it's doing. If you don't got no money in your account, I'll just go to the bank. Well, now you're standing in line at the bank. You can't make an appointment until next week to send money. Let me tell you how that works. You can't just walk into the bank and say, I want to send money now. My bank, I had to wait 3 days. You see that? Fund your account right now. Set it up. Be ready. If this thing takes off next week or 6 months or I don't know when, if you got money in there, you're good to go. You can buy. Let me go to the next question. Ricky Rocket. Ricky has a question. I know Caleb Brown is working on an app, like a phone app. Will Caleb Brown also be working on a digital wallet? Thanks, Crypto Hulk.
We won't be working on a digital wallet, just simply because the way that we operate as a business is we use Fireblocks as our custody provider to essentially facilitate your cold storage wallets, right? So it's not like a hot wallet with us where you can transfer in and out, you can move assets between different accounts. It's more of just a spot purchasing business where you can purchase crypto through us. Your assets are stored through a cold storage wallet, but we don't really need to set up anything like a hot wallet or a hardware wallet ourselves. Simply just because of the way that we've set up our cold storage custody solution. So you're right in the sense that our mobile app will hopefully go live sometime this year for clients. But yeah, there's no plans for us to create a digital wallet solution at this stage.
Okay, next, Essa. Somebody by the name of Essa has a question. When can we expect Caleb? Oh, here we go. When can we expect Caleb Brown to come to the United Kingdom or New York?
Yeah, this question comes up a lot. So we used to operate in the UK. We even had an office presence there probably early last year. The UK, I'll start with that area because it's probably more likely that we'll be able to operate there in the future. We have to stop accepting new clients from the UK just due to the new crypto regulations that came out early last year, that essentially restricted us in terms of promoting crypto there. And we just deemed it too much of a risk for us to continue to operations. But we are certainly looking into how we can still operate there. And our legal team is looking into how we do it from a regulatory perspective and ensuring that if we are to operate again in the UK, that we're obviously doing so lawfully. So what I would say about the UK specifically is that we hear you. We have a lot of people that want to sign up from the UK, and we have a lot of partners as well that want to work with us in the UK as well. So it's not like it's a great business or commercial decision for us, but when it comes to obviously the safety of our company and ensuring that we're acting within the relevant legal parameters there, we had to make the really difficult decision to exit that market. But what I would say is that we are looking quite intently into how we can re-enter that market. In terms of New York, it's a little more complicated. So to not go into the full story of it, but essentially to operate within New York, you are required to have a BIT license. The requirements to get one are incredibly expensive and really difficult. We've just found that those requirements make it almost, not impossible, but really difficult for us to operate within New York. So at this stage, we don't accept any New York clients. It's the only state that we don't operate in, which I guess can give you a bit of a detail into how difficult the BIT licensing requirements are. I think only maybe 6 or 7 digital asset businesses have gotten that license. But so there's a bit more uncertainty, I'd say, with New York, and I'd probably say there's less of a likelihood that we'll operate there anytime soon. But that's a bit of an update on both. Again, these situations always change though, right? So if they do, we'll always ensure that our clients are, or even non-clients that want to sign up are educated on where we're at with it.
We have a comment from Duke XRP. It's not about the price, just get involved / genius. So it's not about the price, just get involved. I guess he says that phrase is genius. So thank you very much for that comment there. Next one is Sparky Ape. Number 1, transferring crypto is free, but when I sell, there's a fee. What is the fee?
Yep, so that fee is 3.5%, as I mentioned before. So that's just a transparent flat fee on buys, sells, and swaps. So I'll give the example. Let's just say that you transfer US dollars, so fiat from your bank to Calum Brown. Let's just say that you transfer 10K US dollars. You then decide once that money's hit your account to buy $10,000 worth of XRP. You would be charged the 3.5% on that 10K buy of XRP. And then let's just say, okay, I want to sell out of that XRP. Let's just say XRP does really well. It 5 times is from there. All of a sudden you have 50K worth of XRP. You decide, you know what, that's a great win. I'm going to sell out of that XRP into US dollars. That would also be a 3.5% fee. But then if you decide, okay, with my US dollars, I actually want to withdraw this into my bank account, there would be no fee to withdraw that 50K then into your bank account. So just think about it in terms of if you buy crypto, you get charged. If you swap between 2 cryptos, you get charged. And if you sell your crypto, you'll be charged. That's the only fee that we charge though. So there's no fee to speak to your broker. There's no Forex fees. There's no custody fee, as we've mentioned. There's no hidden costs as well, which is really important. And there's no withdrawal fees as well.
Okay. So I could sell off all my XRP and you send it to my bank account and I'm not charged any money. Is that correct?
You'll be charged on the sell-off. So let's just say you sell off that XRP into US dollars. There is the fee there. But then when you move that US dollars and you want to withdraw it to your bank account, there's no fee for that. And we'll facilitate and do all of that for you. So we'll withdraw it to your relevant bank account.
All right. Next question he had, if there's a confiscation of assets, like somebody, I don't know, maybe a government, I don't know what he's talking about. If there's a confiscation of assets, are we protected or should we do cold storage?
Is he saying if there's a confiscation of assets? I'm not really sure in what scenario assets would ever be confiscated. What I would say about our business and how we operate, as I mentioned before, all assets are held one for one. So in the scenario that say Caleb Brown goes under, let's just say that in that unlikely scenario that happens, the first thing that we would be required to do as a business is return all customer assets to our clients. And because of how we operate as a business, as I mentioned before, we use our own liquidity to get trades done. All client assets are just stored one for one in cold storage. We would have no issues doing that, right? So if something was to happen to Caleb Brown, your assets are protected and we'd be able to send them through to you at the exact amount that you had them stored with us.
I have a question. Let's say I have XRP in Caleb Brown and I want to send it to my hardware wallet. Am I able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a simple withdrawal request as well. Instead of that being a withdrawal request to your bank account, that's a withdrawal request to your own wallet, right? So part of what we do is, and part of our security protocols is, we'll have a section within your portal that allows you to verify your wallet address. So in that scenario, we know it's you. So you would verify that hardware wallet address. We would then call you when we get a withdrawal request, ensure that it's actually you, because a lot of people get SIM swapped or they get their emails hacked, and then all of a sudden they're trying to take their money from them. So we'll actually do the security protocols to ensure that it's actually you requesting that withdrawal. And then, yeah, we'll send that XRP to your hardware wallet. And then you can store it there. You can move it back to Calvin Brown. It's totally up to you and the client and what their risk profile is.
Okay. Ray, somebody by the name of Ray just wanted to give me $5. So thank you, Ray.
You take that.
Okay, that was an easy question. Chucky has a question. I'm a new Caleb and Brown member. Thank you. Hulk Bamish has been so helpful. He stepped me through all the transfers and purchases. I do not miss not knowing how much money I'm down. LOL. Why don't you offer an average cost?
So firstly, I think, yeah, so Hamish has been so helpful. So Hamish is one of our senior brokers. So Chucky, that's great to hear. I do miss not knowing how much money I'm down. Why don't you offer an average cost? I think they're referring to the price that they bought in at and the performance of their assets. When you make a trade, it will actually give you the cost of that trade. You receive an email that essentially have a receipt of it. I think you're mentioning on the platform itself, how do we show whether you're down or up? That's also something that's a bit of a product feature that we're working on building out. So you can come into your portal and see, okay, how much am I actually overall down or up on an asset? So that's a great piece of feedback and something I'll relay back to our product team.
Next question is Digital Slim Jim. Is Caleb and Brown going to offer an iPhone app where we can see our crypto on the go? So instead of us having to go to a computer, I can just go to my phone and look at Caleb and Brown and just see how much I got or whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, part of the mobile app, which I'll just say for everyone on the call, is in its final stage of testing right now. So we're just testing it for bugs, making sure everything runs smoothly so that when we release it to the App Store, it's perfect for use. But yeah, that'll just essentially be another way that you can contact your broker, execute a trade, see what your portfolio is doing. You can do all of that right now on your phone. You'll just log into your browser portal. So it's obviously not a mobile app. But yeah, as part of the mobile app, it'd be very similar to how most other platforms allow you to come onto your account and see how your portfolio is performing. It'll also allow you to execute trades as well. So we're hopeful that will go live at some point later this year.
Okay, now this question's kind of similar, the same as the other one. Just briefly go ahead and explain as if somebody just came in. Their name is Dreamer3R. Can you run through what the trading fees for Caleb and Brown are?
Yes. So as a business, we charge just a transparent flat fee of 3.5%. And so that's on a buy, and that's on a sell, or that's on a swap. So anytime that you execute a trade with us, you'll be charged. But again, that's the only fee that we charge. So as I mentioned at the start of this call, one of the biggest things that you'll see on other platforms and exchanges is they'll charge quite a small transaction fee, but then they'll charge you a lot of hidden costs that aren't readily apparent when you make the trade. So things like spreads, things like slippage, forex costs, withdrawal fees. A lot of these fees are hidden under the hood, but they're not completely apparent to you when you make those trades. So we don't charge any of that. And we don't charge anything to speak to your broker. There's no custody fees. There's no withdrawal fees. So we just charge a flat fee. You'll see that fee when you make a trade. We'll be as transparent about that as possible. And there'll be no other hidden costs. Hulk, you want to say something?
Explain. I thought this was important. I don't know if you touched on it. When Caleb and Brown goes to buy a crypto, explain how this is different than at an exchange. Like, explain that.
Yeah, so we use a whole range of different liquidity providers to get a trade done for clients. So we're not a market maker. So a market maker like a Coinbase, for example, is they have their own liquidity sourced internally. So they'll generate their own liquidity pools, right? Which is beneficial for them. I mean, they're a huge liquidity provider. But what that means is if there's periods of high demand for a certain asset, and let's just say Coinbase is running low to be able to provide that asset, that's where you'll see quite a big difference in the price potentially. Again, I'm not using Coinbase as just an example, but I'm not saying this is what actually happens with them necessarily. But with us, how it will actually work is we'll be able to pull liquidity from a whole range of different sources, which means in periods of high demand, we'll be able to get you the best rate possible, whether that's to purchase the asset or when the time comes to sell. And if you're selling at a really large position on, say, an old coin that doesn't have a lot of liquidity, that's when you'll incur significant slippage and where you'll actually get a way worse rate to sell out of a large position. We don't do that. So we have a team of experienced traders that can essentially trade, slice, and deal for you. But what that ultimately means is we don't have one single point of failure when it comes to our liquidity. We use a whole range of different sources, which means that you get the best rate possible. So that's really important, especially when it comes time to sell out.
Okay, so from what I understand, just like that, Caleb and Brown has multiple places to find your crypto to buy it at the cheapest price possible, right? Okay. And then with Caleb and Brown, these exchanges, they don't do that. And then when Caleb and Brown goes to sell it, they break up they don't sell like a big old chunk all at once. They trade slice it down so you don't get ripped off on like slippage fees. Okay, you guys? So some of you that don't trade, they'll sell off bits like really fast of your crypto, real small, instead of just like a million XRP at once. Maybe they'll sell off 5,000 XRP at a time, a whole bunch of times. Is it kind of like that or no?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, in most instances, if it's a smaller transaction, so say it's a $10,000 trade, right? That trade can get done very quickly without probably moving the market. But we're talking about if you're doing a six-figure trade in an asset that an asset that isn't Bitcoin, right? Let's just say it's a meme coin that has gone up in value, but there's not a lot of liquidity for it in the market. If you try and sell out of that, usually on a platform, that'll just get automatically sold out, and then you'll incur anywhere from 5% to upwards of 25%, 30% slippage, right? So you actually lose out because they sell it all in one go. Whereas our team here can deploy a whole bunch of different trading strategies, like you mentioned, trade slicing, where, yeah, look, the trade may take a little longer for us to execute it, but it's for your benefit, right? We'll trade it in smaller chunks where it won't move the market too much. And it means that ultimately at the end of the day, you get the best rate possible for selling out of that large position. So there's things like that where, again, because you have your broker, because it's a personalized service, we aren't just going to automate a trade like that. You'll speak to your broker will say, hey, look, this is a large position. If you're looking to sell out of all of this, I think we should do this strategy. Again, it's totally up to you what you decide to do, but ultimately it ends up benefiting the client in the long run.
King Arthur Wannabe is the name. Can I gift someone else who has a Caleb and Brown account any of my crypto, wallet to wallet? Can I gift someone else who has a Caleb and Brown account any of my crypto? Can you answer that?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, we don't allow for that. So you can't transfer assets between different Caleb and Brown accounts. You can't even do that when it comes to, say, you have a trust or an LLC account with us and then an individual account. those to two separate entities and two separate accounts, right? So if you were wanting to do that, that's where you'd withdraw those assets to your own hot wallet and then send them to that individual's account, but you can't do it within Calvin Brown, unfortunately.
Somebody by the name of Name says, can I send XRP to you guys from my Nano Ledger? Will I have the same amount as I send, and will I be crypto insured?
So the first part of that question, sorry, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Can I send XRP to you guys from my Nano Ledger?
Yes, yes. So you can. It's easy to transfer your assets over. Again, if you have any difficulties in doing that, you can call your broker. You can speak to your broker. They'll help you transfer those assets over. They're pretty well versed in that space. And then what was the second part of that question? Is it insured? So we have an insurance policy with our partnership with Fireblocks. Again, I can't really go into the details because it's their insurance policy, not ours. But again, as I mentioned before, how we operate as a business in terms of storing your assets in cold storage 1-for-1, and the fact that we use our own liquidity to execute the trades on your behalf means that in any scenario, if something was to happen to Calvin Brown, the first thing that we would do as a business is return those assets to you as a client, 1-for-1, secure, untouched, and ensure that our clients are made whole.
Okay. Let me go through here to see what other question. I think, now let me go through some maybe non-paid questions. Most of those questions were paid for. That's how it grabs my attention. So, would Caleb and Brown ever provide debit credit deposits when you get Circle? When will you get Circle?
Yes, I don't know if it would be through Circle. So Circle is one of the payment providers that will allow you to do that. There's a whole range of different ones. I think even Stripe, one of the biggest payment providers, is getting into the crypto space. As of right now, we don't. So unfortunately, if you wanted to move, assets from your bank account to buy crypto with us, you have to do it via a bank wire transfer. Now, what I would say about that is once you've done that one time, it's usually in your bank account. Sorry, it's usually in your CMB account quite quickly the second time you do it. We are looking into allowing our clients to purchase crypto or transfer US dollars through their debit and credit cards. We're just not at that stage where we're offering that as a solution.
Okay, that is 1 hour. And I think that's good enough. I've made about 3 hours of shows today. I'm kind of getting a little tired. And each show takes a good 4 hours each at minimum. That doesn't include any kind of editing or comment. It's never ends. So for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to have to end the show after an hour. I wanted to thank Caleb Brown for showing up. I wanted to congratulate you guys. You have an opportunity here. Caleb and Brown, you guys help banks, right? Banks and financial institutions.
We've worked with institutions. We don't work directly with banks. I think banks are probably the last large institution to even support crypto, right? Most banks are pretty anti-crypto, but we certainly work with LLCs and institutions that want to invest in crypto.
Okay, so I think what I was trying to get at was Caleb and Brown deals with multi-million-dollar companies. Is that fair to say, or?
Yeah, and individuals as well.
Okay, so Caleb Brown works with multi-million-dollar people, companies, and the way I see it is this. You don't have to be a credit investor. You don't have to have 1 million American dollars to deal with Caleb Brown. They have been, I think, fair enough to help people like you and me to maybe potentially one day become millionaires, okay? That's why we're here. We have a company who is going to hold our crypto in Fireblocks storage where 2,000 global institutions, whether banks, financial institutions, whatever it might be, they have their money in Fireblocks. I want to be next to the multi-billion-dollar banks, okay, that are in there. and Caleb and Brown is allowing people like us to trade. They're allowing multi-million dollar customers to trade. They can set a limit and say, we're not messing with anybody unless you got $1 million. And it's like, what I want you guys to understand is don't abuse the fact that you get access to calling a broker on a phone. Like, I want you to realize something. They're making multi-million dollar deals on the phone. They can't spend an hour talking to you about a $5 trade, okay? So you got to kind of understand I'm lucky to be with a company that deals with multi-millionaire businesses and people and stuff. They're lowering the bar to where we don't have to have an artificial thing called accredited investor. Like they're allowing us, hey, if you got $500, you're playing with the biggest banks in the world. You're playing because you got Fireblocks custody. You're in that group to where your crypto's protected just like the banks and the 2000 financial institutions. You could maybe all you got is $500. Now you've got the same custody rights that 2000 banks have. They're letting us in this company for basically you can set up an account for free. There's not a membership fee. They don't say, well, let me see, did you make $300,000 over the past 3 years? Do you have $1 million in assets? They're not doing that. So it's Kelly and Brown is not a welfare company. There's going to be some fees involved because if they wanted to, they'll just deal with institutions and they'll call up Caleb Brown and say, hey, I want $10 million of this and that. And you're over there bitching and complaining about, well, I got to pay a 3% fee. These people try to deal with big time stuff. I'm grateful to have found custody that all the top banks have. And these banks are paying millions of dollars a year in fees. But no one's going to be bitching when you look in your crypto account and you got 10 million bucks sitting in there tomorrow. I bet you no one's going to complain and man, I hate you guys. I got $10 million in my account, but it's all bad with the other things. So I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to get into a professional brokerage that deals with multi-million dollar customers on a daily basis, who's tied in with custody to all the top banks in the world. And we had 1 hour today for you guys to ask questions and stuff. And I'm sure we'll have another occasion to chat with Caleb and Brown. And I wanted to end this program and just thank everybody for showing up. We're all in here to make money. Caleb Brown's here to make money and to help us with our trades. And who knows, one day we're multi-billionaires. Hey, some people watch my show. I already know right now, Jim, they got $2 million in crypto. And I'm like, dude, you're going to have billions when this thing takes off. So that's where we're all in like a little club. At least me, I'm in the poor person's club, but one day we'll be rolling like big shots. That's the whole idea. And I think I'll end it at that. So.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
All right. I'll see everybody on the next broadcast. I might do a show. I don't know, maybe in the morning. If I can find some news real quick, I will. But I've been awake since, too early in the morning. But we'll see what happens. I'll see you guys at my next broadcast, and that'll be it.